Peak, Chapter 2376, Clear Sky Island. Published by Divine Tao Library. Translator, Salavan and Rykov. Translation checker, Pew Pew Lasergun. Editor and proofreader, Leo of Zion Mountain and Dale Ligerkeys. I have to apologize to you, Big Sister Ling. Yang Kai scratched his head and took out the broken high-grade spirit purifying array base and flags awkwardly. I broke it. Ling Yin-chin looked at it and realized that her spirit purifying array was in fact badly damaged and it couldn't be used again. She could not help a downcast gaze from flashing past her eyes, as well as some reminiscence and pity. If it's broken, then it's broken, Ling Yin-chin forced herself to smile and consoled. It's just a high-grade spirit purifying array. Don't worry about it. Yang Kai said, how many source crystals is this worth? I'll repay you. Ling Yin-chin waved her hand, no need. It's a pity it wasn't able to offer you any help. While speaking, she took out a wooden token and passed it to Yang Kai. What's this? Yang Kai asked, puzzled. This is a Clear Sky Island identity token. You'll be needing this if you want to get into Clear Sky City. Yang Kai reached out and accepted it, but then he came to a realization and raised his brows. Is this from those profound cloud pavilion guys? Will there be any issues if I use this to enter the city? No, there won't be. These two are only low-level identity tokens, so no information is recorded on them. It'd be different for the high-level ones as those can't be imitated, Ling Yin-chin explained. Many thanks, in that case. Yang Kai was overjoyed. He was still worrying over how he and Lu Xianyun could safely get into Clear Sky Island, but he didn't expect these people from Profound Cloud Pavilion to take the initiative to deliver these identity tokens to them. This was simply like delivering charcoal in a frigid winter. I'm a bit tired, so I'll go back and rest. Brother Yang, please make yourselves comfortable. After that, Ling Yin-chin turned around and headed for the cabin. Lu Xianyun leaned over and whispered to Yang Kai, senior brother, that high-grade spirit purifying array is something that Big Sister Ling's partner left her before he passed on. It holds a lot of meaning to her. This was what she heard from Zhao Yi, and from the changes she saw on Ling Yin-chin's face earlier, she knew that what Zhao Yi said was true. This high-grade spirit purifying array was indeed exceptionally important to Ling Yin-chin and held her memories for that person. Only then did Yang Kai realize how valuable the thing he damaged was and quickly shouted, Sister Ling. I'll definitely find someone to fix this spirit purifying array for you. The spirit purifying array was only damaged and not completely ruined. Yang Kai had originally thought of compensating Ling Yin-chin with some source crystals or buying her another set when they arrived at Clear Sky Island. However, knowing the sentimental significance of this spirit purifying array now, compensating her or buying another set would be inappropriate. The best solution was to find someone to repair the array base and flags. When she heard this, Ling Yin-chin's steps wavered, but she did not turn back, only waving her hand lightly. Then, with a desolate back, she slowly walked away. Senior brother Yang, do the two of you want to go back and rest as well? Zhao Yi came over with a fawning smile on his face. His attitude was no longer casual like before and he was now acting more cautiously. The ship will set sail soon. It'll take less than a month for us to arrive back at Clear Sky Island. Old Zhao will call you once we're there. Alright, I'll have to trouble you then, brother Zhao. Yang Kai nodded his head and went with Lu Xianyun towards their room. Soon after, the ship set sail again. Inside the compartment, there were several times where Lu Xianyun wanted to ask Yang Kai about his current situation, but she ended up swallowing her words back when they reached her lips. Yang Kai's failure to break through to the Emperor realm must have been a big blow to him, and if she asked, then Lu Xianyun believed that it would definitely make him even sadder. She also had no idea how to comfort Yang Kai, so she simply sighed in her heart and felt that heavens was unjust to let Yang Kai perceive his opportunity for a breakthrough in this damned place. The speed of the ship was not slow, and the cultivators on the ship were able to deal with the occasional attacks by sea beasts on the way. Regardless of their cultivation level, it was clear that Ling Qinyin's subordinates were all extremely seasoned cultivators who had a lot of experience on how to take care of these sea beasts. So, they didn't encounter any dangers on the way back. About 20 days later, Yang Kai suddenly heard a commotion from the deck. Perking up his ears and listening in, he found out through the joyful conversations of the crew that they were nearing Clear Sky Island. The cultivators on Clear Sky Island had to search for cultivation resources at sea, and every trip out was accompanied by great risks. Oftentimes, only half the number who departed would return. But this time, Ling Yin-chin's ship was different. However many went, however many returned, not a single one becoming lost at sea. Not only that, they had a great harvest, so the crew members were naturally overjoyed. Sure enough, it didn't take long before the speed of the ship began to slow, and very soon, it came to a complete halt. A bunch of noise suddenly came about. Releasing his divine sense, Yang Kai found that the ship had reached the edge of a huge island and stopped at a place similar to a pier. Before Ling Yin-chin and the others arrived, there were already a few ships waiting to dock. From time to time, cultivators would fly out of those ships and land on the ground. As soon as these cultivators landed, many people would gather around him as if every cultivator who returned from the sea was a sweet and ripe fruit. Yang Kai saw a cultivator who had just returned from sea exchanging a few words with another person, then he followed that person and left quickly. Senior brother Yang, we've arrived at Clear Sky Island. Ling Yin-chin's voice emerged from outside the room. Yang Kai and Lu Yanzun exchanged glances, then the two of them quickly stood up. When they arrived on the deck, Zhao Yi and the others were already waiting eagerly. Once they saw Yang Kai, they all nodded at him with reverence. Are these people purchasing the harvest from the sea? Yang Kai went up to Zhao Yi and asked while pointing at the bargaining cultivators down below. Zhao Yi nodded. That's right, any returning ship will more or less have some kind of harvest with him, and there will be a few people waiting at the pier to try to purchase that harvest. Once they negotiate a price, they'll make a deal, then they won't have to waste any time looking for a buyer in the city. Many stores in the city have people waiting here, and they'll rush over like madmen every time someone comes back. It's a fierce fight. When he heard Zhao Yi's explanation, Yang Kai knew that his guess was right. This was what he thought too when he first saw this scene. Let's go, Zhao Yi called out to everyone, and many of the crew members activated their movement skills and flew towards the shore. Yang Kai and Lu Xianyun also followed closely behind them, but Ling Yin-chin stayed back, forming a few hand seals as she prepared to put the ship away. As soon as the crew came ashore, they were immediately greeted by many merchants who surrounded him and offered them prices for what they obtained during the trip. Zhao Yi and the others were undoubtedly very familiar with this, and all of them acted aloof and put on airs while they negotiated the price with the merchants. Soon after, someone offered him a good price and they went over to the side to make their trade. Zhao Yi and the others had a really big harvest this trip. Not mentioning the more than 100,000 grey feather corals and the 12th order monster beast's carcass that they found, just the spoils they seized after Yang Kai killed the cultivators from Profound Cloud Pavilion alone was many times more than what they usually got. The harvest was so big that it was impossible to sell it off all at once, so the dozen crew members prepared to split up some of the harvest amongst themselves to be traded for useful cultivation goods, such as source crystals, spirit pills, and whatnot. The rest of the harvest would be sold off next time when they had the chance. They'd definitely attract some unwanted attention if they take out so much good stuff at once. Whether inside or outside the solitary void-sealed world, source crystals were the hard currency, while another popular item was spirit pills. All useful spirit pills could be converted into the corresponding amount of source crystals or used as direct currency. While Yang Kai was browsing rare commodities, a beautiful middle-aged woman suddenly appeared in front of him. This beautiful woman was wearing a long turquoise dress and had an enchanting and plump body. She had a bulging chest that stretched her clothes out so much that they could almost rip, which was extremely eye-catching. Her cultivator wasn't low either, being at the second order Dao Source realm. But, even though she had enchanting looks, she had a very dignified bearing. It was not known whether she was too slow earlier or couldn't be bothered about competing with the others, but she didn't go over to greet the returning crews like the others. However, when she saw Yang Kai and Lu Xianyun standing there without being bothered by anyone, she took the initiative to go over to them, smiled, and cupped her fists. Little brother, greetings. Do you need something, madam? Yang Kai swept his eyes over her. The beautiful woman smiled. This mistress is Deacon Fan Sin of Ice Heart Pavilion. Ice Heart Pavilion. Yang Kai raised his brows and couldn't help but take a look at this beautiful woman called Fan Sin. Fan Sin asked suspiciously, what's wrong? Does little brother not know of my Ice Heart Pavilion? She thought this was very strange. Even though Ice Heart Pavilion only occupied a small piece of land on Clear Sky Island, they were definitely well known. As long as someone lived on Clear Sky Island, it was impossible for them not to know about Ice Heart Pavilion, but seeing Yang Kai's reaction just now, he seemed very surprised, as if he had never heard of Ice Heart Pavilion before. Yang Kai said calmly, of course I have heard of your noble Ice Heart Pavilion before, but I never expected that Ice Heart Pavilion would also be buying things here. This was, of course, nonsense. It was indeed Yang Kai's first time hearing about Ice Heart Pavilion, but he also knew that his performance earlier had aroused the beautiful woman's suspicion, so he quickly tried to dispel her doubts through misdirection. Sure enough, the beautiful woman smiled bitterly and replied, doing business is difficult, there's competition everywhere. This mistress also has her hands tied. She turned the subject back on track quickly after, I wonder if little brother has made any gains during this trip out to sea. If so, could you show it to me? This mistress will definitely offer you a satisfactory price. I have their share of our harvest. If you need to talk about anything, you can discuss it with me. Ling Yin-chin came over from a short distance away to help Yang Kai with his predicament. Of course, he wouldn't have any goods on him. If he had known the situation would be like this at the docks, Yang Kai would have left some stuff in his space ring after killing that group of people from Profound Cloud Pavilion. When she heard this, Fan Xin looked puzzlingly at Yang Kai. She had no idea why he had left his goods with Ling Yin-chin. After all, the dozen people who came down from the ship earlier all brought something with them. Yang Kai shrugged and smiled, I tend to get a bit carried away when I see a beautiful woman. Big sister is worried I'll suffer a loss, so she's acting as my agent. Now, it seems like this was a smart move. Fan Xin covered her mouth and laughed, little brother really is interesting.